Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the November 23rd, 2015 meeting of the Weare Board of Selectmen. We started at 6:30 with a non-public session to discuss some personnel items, and I would ask everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now please join us in a moment of silence. Thank you. And now the floor is open for public comment.
Just one thing. Jan, when I came in, your dome light in your car was still on. I don't know if it goes off by itself.
Frank told me that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now the whole town knows.
Thank you.
Rumor started with me.
Good evening. I'm David Pierce. I'm chair of the John Stark Scenic Byway Council with representatives from your community, Gulfstown, New Boston, and Dunbarton, as well as state and planning commission members on my council. Last spring, you might have been familiar with a ballot that was Naomi put on your website for voting on a sign design that would promote the scenic byway. Well, I'm going to unveil for you the final sign, which has been fabricated. Anyways, with a board, that's it. Which camera is live?
That one.
So, and
There it is.
a reflective sign, and there will be 5 of these signs in Weare. And the location has been approved by the Traffic Bureau, the Department of Transportation, and my council has signed a memorandum with the Commissioner of DOT for the responsibility for forever maintaining these signs and being liable for if anything went wrong with them. So I just wanted to take this opportunity at public comment to unveil the sign for the board and to the public. And so hopefully in the next 2 weeks, I'll get them distributed to your road agents who have volunteered to pound the post in the ground before the ground freezes. And,
I did.
Already there.
something that I'm not accustomed to, but I know Mr. Redmond would be. So I appreciate your time, unless you had some questions.
Thank you.
David, the locations were where Helene and I went, right?
Yes.
Those were there. Yeah.
That's a rough
Yeah.
sketch of where the locations will be. The actual detailed sheet to the Department of Transportation had coordinates
Yeah.
to the nearest 10 feet.
Yeah, you guys, we were searching the banks for telephone, public service poles.
So before I hand out the 5 signs to Mr. Redmond,
Yeah.
I'll be verifying if my wooden stakes are still there
Okay.
on the same day that I hand the signs off.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Frank Campana, it looks like you have a long agenda tonight. I'll probably be up here one more time, so I'll try to make it brief. I'll leave a couple of things out here. I want to get a jump. I have a comment to make about police chief's budget presentation. And this is his second copy that you folk, I guess, only received that night. You did comment on a few of his line items, the money. They were relatively, I didn't mark them off, they were relatively small dollar amounts. But in his backup information on the last page, and this is from the 6th, in his request for 5 new officers, this change is in response to, he lists the positions he wants. This change is in response to the frequent requests for 24/7 coverage. I think I've said this before, but this is from the 2006 town report. It is the then Chief Began's report to the town. Goes on to say, support and approval of the voters for additional officers to man the department 24/7 have resulted in public safety and protection, as well as enhanced enforcement for the town, where both needs and deserves. So I'm getting a mixed message here. You know, we used to have a full-time police chief, now we have a part-time police chief. That will be for public comment in the near future. We used to have 24-hour coverage, irrespective that the department is not fully staffed. I believe that it's still short 2 officers. So, you know, we used to have 24/7 coverage, now we don't. You know, and you know, there were, I think you were not here that night, but there were 4 of you here. Like I say, you picked up on a few items, which I thought was great. And again, I know it was the first blush of looking at it, so you know, don't go in depth too much. But you know, between the 4 of you, why should it take me as an ordinary citizen? I've said this before too, to bring to the board, say we used to have 24-hour coverage. Now we need one of the 5 cops for 24-hour coverage. Where did 24-hour coverage disappear to? We've had it. Again, irrespective that the department is not fully staffed. All right, I understand that. So you hire the 2 cops, 2006, that police, for all the faults, that police chief was doing 24-hour coverage. So when it comes time to really get down to the nuts and bolts of his budget, I hope that comes up for discussion amongst 5 cops. Certainly don't need one for 24-hour coverage. So now we're down to 4. And it certainly looks like, you read that sentence, all the positions he wants, he wants sergeants, detective, 3 sergeants. So now we're getting in a position of past. I know, don't like to look back at the past, but a lot of chiefs are no Indians. So that's my only comment till we get to the FEMA money.
May I just,
Go ahead.
just, first, almost immediately after those 2 officers were approved in 2005 or 6, I forget which it was, Chief Began came back to us with multiple requests for additional officers. And then the recession set in and he stopped because he knew it wasn't going to be possible. So the shortage was still there. So that's on the one hand. On the other hand, the coverage was coming because of massive overtime. You know, we at one time went as high as $300,000 in overtime expenses. So, you know, that's how the coverage came about, and that's because we were paying the price by paying overtime, and in a sense, and this is my opinion, really putting officers at danger and the public at danger by having people work too many hours, 70 and in some cases 90, which is ridiculous. And we actually changed the contract to not allow anything more than that, at least. So, you know, yes, there was 24-hour coverage, but the reality is that you know, we were paying the price in the overtime, and I believe in the safety of officers and the public. The other thing is, Frank, and I know you already said it, it was our first look at his proposal, and obviously the board has to have an in-depth discussion of that.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, about the overtime and the money, but if you recall, that department was riddled with abuse. And that's well borne out by the report from
MRI.
I should have that in the top of my head. That there was an abuse there was just an abuse.
Yeah.
So I understand, I'm glad you brought it up, but how much of that overtime was due to abuse?
Some of it
And
was.
still
you're right.
have 24-hour coverage. Okay, that's it.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Any other public comment? All right, well, next on the agenda is the public hearing, but we'll wait till 7:30 for that. So we'll skip ahead to department head committee items. And I'll recognize Tim Redmond, Public Works Director.
Thank you. For the record, Tim Redmond, Public Works Director. We have had a vacant operator's position in the Highway Department since Randall Dearborn retired earlier this year. And we followed our internal procedures, including internal postings and job skills evaluations on the people who did sign the sheet. So at this time, I would like to recommend a employee who's been with us since 2013, Joe Sarno, to be promoted from truck driver to equipment operator with a pay increase that goes with the position.
I'll entertain a motion. Anybody would like to make one?
I move that we promote Joe Sarno to the position of equipment operator at the rate of $17.51 to start on the date of, what did we determine it was? November
27.
27th, 2015.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Who's the date again, sorry?
What?
What was the date?
11/27.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Well, we're not gonna jump into the budget yet, because I don't think we'll have time to really get into it, finish it before the 7:30 public hearing. I don't know how long the Horse Hill discussion will take, but I'll risk starting it. So I'll recognize Art Siciliano.
Hi, I'm Art Siciliano. I'm going to represent Judith Chimenti. And this is her some property that she owns on Horse Spring Hill Road. There's a visual, so you see where you are. So this property is, Horse Spring Hill Road is between Barnard Hill Road and River Road. She owns 3 lots on that road, and she's owned them since 1978. And so she's finally decided to try to sell the property. And then about the last year and a half, we've been in front of different boards in the town and trying to get an approval for an access way to her property. We designed an access from Barnard Hill Road. I'll tell you about the River Road side. The River Road side was basically cut off. It's a ledge issue down there. When River Road was constructed, it virtually basically cut off their access from River Road to those lots. Right now, that's a gravel, Horse Spring Hill Road is it's a gravel road right now, so it's in pretty rough shape. On the Barnard Hill side, we had designed an access way. It turned out to be about 15%. That's the best we could get between it, for a grade between the two walls. And we ended up going to the zoning board for building, to allow building permits for those lots, or for 2 of the lots. And we were denied based on, they didn't feel that the access was safe enough. So I'm in front of and the town attorney is aware of the situation. I've been to Tim a few times about this access. And right now, there's a guardrail on that sharp curve. And she would like to get have access to their property. So I guess in order to get access or to drive there or something, get there with some type of a vehicle, she would need the guardrail removed.
And so then it would just be a dead end at the, lot 168? Or would it
What do
would
you
it
mean?
continue through to
access?
River Road? Or not? You said that's cut off to River Road.
Well, no, we've been just trying to get a road, a driveway and access to lot 170. There's 3 lots there, 168, 169, and 170. The town allows shared driveway, so we were gonna do away with lot 168 and just, she wanted to build on 2 lots. And the access would have come from that intersection of Horse Spring Hill Road and Barnard Hill, and just go on to lot 170. I did bring, I can show you a plan that shows that, but I don't know. We got denied from the, for that access from the ZBA, so. I don't know if you can override that, but,
And it was denied based on the 15% grade?
basically, I think that was it, yeah.
I'm gonna ask Public Works Director, do we have any other roads in town that are 15% grade or steeper?
I don't think I can answer that question without checking grades on
Research.
roads, but I don't think you can create a new, I don't
Right.
believe you can create a new situation where you're exceed the grade requirement. I think anything that we have now is pre-existing. And you can't make that change retroactively. If it's there, it's there. But on any new construction, you have to hopefully meet the grade requirements.
Which is 10?
Planning board grade requirement, I believe, is 10.
Yeah, Board of Fire was just 10 too, I believe.
We defer to the
And they do, the town does allow steeper than 10%, they have in the past, if it's an engineered driveway. But this is kind of a, this will end up being their driveway, but it's over town property, so it's kind of a unique situation. It would be sort of like a private drive, because nobody else is gonna use it. Although, now that I said that, we did provide an access so that if somebody did wanna use, if an abutter wanted to use Horse Spring Hill Road, that'd be the only other person that probably wanna use this. We were allowing an easement over this access that we were gonna create, so that they could get onto Horse Spring Hill Road if they needed to. Cause even the abutters can't get onto Horse Spring Hill Road to use their property. Not that they need it, but they can't use Horse Spring Hill Road right now.
Did you have did you have an engineer plan done?
We did, and I have it. But it's a preliminary plan. It was mainly for grading purposes, just to show that it could be put there.
Okay.
The actual, sure, if you want, get in, you want to see?
No, I just
Yeah,
asking.
well, it's a preliminary plan. The materials are not designed. In other words, it's a pretty tall, it's a 12-foot fill in there. It's gonna have to have guardrails
Mhm.
along the whole,
Right.
so nobody comes off of this thing. It's a steep access, but that's all we could, that's as much as we could design here.
Ricky, were you at the planning board meeting?
I was. You did bring this to the planning board, correct?
We went to the planning board said you gotta go to ZBA. We went there
Okay.
with the conditional use permit, thinking, okay, if I get that, then I can go to the zoning board, but they said, no, I gotta go to zoning board first, and
I thought I remember seeing
get that
this, that's
approval.
So this is actually a little bit, I remember when you come in for class 6 or private road, we used to allow 1. If you brought up, made some upgrades. Now she wants 2, so this is a little bit different.
If you give her 1, I think she would take them up. You mean one building permit?
Well, I'm just,
I know, I went to the ZBA with 2, excuse me.
Mhm.
We did go, and maybe they thought that was too much. They didn't really, they did mention that,
yeah,
they didn't
because
say, well, if you came in for 1.
typically you go to the zoning board and you asked a request for one.
Well, typically we've only
Because it's
done
a
it.
shared, it would, I mean, this is, you're asking a little bit different, because typically you said they could share a driveway, but it's still a town road, so you want the driveway to be the town road? Is that what you're asking?
No, we were asking, no, the this is not an,
Because it's a Class 6 road,
we're not
not
asking for the
maintained.
driveway, we were asking for building permits on a Class 6 road,
Right,
and we were gonna build the access.
okay.
It's
But you
like-
talked about a shared driveway earlier, did I miss that?
Right, because she has 3 lots, we were gonna go to 2 lots. Now, would this be more palatable to the town with 1 lot? I don't know. That's a good question. We didn't discuss that, we just,
Mhm.
we went in for what she wanted. I guess it's,
What you're actually thinking of doing is upgrading the section of the Class 6 road leading to where the driveways would branch off.
we would need to do some construction on a Class 6 road to get access to the property. There's a pretty steep drop off. She said over the years, the Barnard Hill Road has been raised, it probably has, to make it safer around the corner.
And your estimations are, where would that leave the grade when all that construction would be done?
The grade of the driveway?
Yeah, the grade
The grade of the access?
Of the Class 6 road that would be left?
Of the Class 6, well,
From the Barnard Hill where they take the
there
guardrail
would be a
down?
15% grade
15%.
to the lot. Negative 15.
Negative 15%.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I just, personally, I would want to see exactly what ZBA had to say about it
Mhm.
before we could do anything to override them. Again, Rick brought up the fire department issue as far as, you know, the grade sometimes interferes because of the lengths of the engines that they have. And personally, I'd like to look at the area myself before I made any decision on it.
Yeah, who prepared these packets?
I just got copies. Chip
Okay.
gave them to me this afternoon, I didn't,
They're the same.
you guys just got them this
Yeah.
afternoon.
Yeah.
Yes. So the only reason I'm questioning is because the map number from the attorney, the map and lot number don't jive.
Right, because that's another issue to another, same situation, different location.
Yeah.
But the same process, if you look at number 71, they talk about the process to obtain selectmen's approval.
Okay,
They talk about the process to request permission, and then,
okay.
you know, that's kind of the only page I probably should have put in there.
Page 2.
No, this one that says 79,
It says 71 on it, or 79.
71 to 79.
It's pretty deep in there.
It's fairly deep in
I'm looking
there.
at page 2, and it's talking about the applicant looking for approval from the Board of Selectmen for a building permit, and there's a process there outlined
Yeah.
too.
Mhm.
This is a process to obtain the selectmen's approval.
Yeah, I guess they're both
Another
the same, I
process.
just went down,
Process
yeah.
page.
But I think, I mean, to be fair, I think you should take a look at it.
Yeah.
And you should, you only got those tonight, because I only got them this afternoon, is look at the minutes, but take a site walk and look at exactly what you have, because it looks nice on, flat on paper.
Oh, yeah.
But I think, yeah,
I knew this was an initial
Yep,
meeting with the
yep.
board. I knew they weren't gonna have come up with anything
Yeah.
other than just, we
Yeah.
needed to meet so that we could get them on board.
now with daylight, are you guys gonna have a difficult time to get there in the daylight? It's dark by 4:30. Can you guys go,
I'll go with them.
I'll say go on your own, but
Yeah.
I can.
wear orange? Just
Well, I
thought
can,
I'd say.
and I will get them the plan, the preliminary design of the
Yep.
access.
Okay.
And
Tim
then they'll
wanted to-
have a visual
Yeah, I think
when
if
they
you
go
could
see
get that would be helpful. Tim had something, I think.
One quick thing, in addition to zoning board of adjustment, planning board, and selectmen's permission for a permit on a Class 6 road, by the RSA, in order to improve a Class 6 road, the selectmen have to give express permission for improvements to a Class 6 road. So that might have to be a separate noted approval.
So Naomi, would you also be able to, I mean, this is somewhat in your area of expertise in your past experience, boil down kind of a list of things that need to be done for
Yep.
us, including what Tim just mentioned?
Yeah, I knew that we were gonna be coming in front of you. If we got the zoning board approval, I knew the next step was really to come. Well, I don't know if that was the next one, I would have probably have to gone to the planning board.
Right, and then there's
fire
also
boards.
gotta be
I would have had to
some
gone right
input
back
from the.
through all the
yeah.
boards I already went through. And then come here at for the final, can we put some fill on this? Can we do some construction on your road, town road?
All right, so
So
you're
I-
gonna get me a plan, I'll get it to them, they can go look at it, and I'll create a list of, and I'll share that with you.
Yeah, if you, yeah.
Yeah. That sounds fair?
Fine, yep. So we
Good.
did it, did we do it?
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
I don't think we need to. I'll just talk about it. We'll get action. Is this gonna, would this require public hearings and everything else too?
No, you can do it through review and comment, you have to work with the planning board and board of fire wards, but I can get you the steps. You probably could spiel off your
Yeah.
manifest.
What?
Just trying, I said you probably could do your manifest,
Yeah.
you got 4 minutes.
Okay. All right, I was gonna jump in, but
It's one less thing.
we'll do that, yep. It's not in order.
What? I know there's 2. Jennifer, did you sign the manifest?
No.
Okay. So there's only Ricky and Tom.
There's not other signatures yet.
Okay.
I move we vote to order the treasurer to sign the accounts payables and payroll checks dated November 25th, 2015, as included in the following manifests. Payroll manifest, $46,614.90 for weekly and monthly payroll. Accounts payable manifest of $273,680.34. Supplemental accounts payable manifest of $77,303. John Stark Regional Co-op payable manifest of $250,000, November 19th, 2015 appropriation, for a total of $647,598.24. The following manifests were previously ordered to sign at the November 9th, 2015 Board of Selectmen meeting. A payroll manifest of $45,559.75 for the weekly payroll checks dated November 19th, 2015. A John Stark Regional Co-op payable manifest of $250,000 for the November 5th, 2015 appropriation. A Weare School District payable manifest of $450,000 for the November 13, 2015 appropriation. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And now we will open our public hearing for the purpose of hearing public testimony and comment on the acceptance of FEMA funds in the amount of $32,246.67 for disaster number FEMA 4209-DR-NH that was declared on March 25th, 2015 for the period covering January 27th through January 29th, 2015 due to the record snowfall in Hillsborough County.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Tim Redmond, Public Works. This was a request that was made available to the town of Weare by the Department of Homeland Security, and I did the paperwork on this. It was rejected at least 6 times before it was finally accepted as complete, and and to their satisfaction. And this represents 75% of the total amount that we requested. The money is eligible for overtime expense, material expense, and equipment expense. It is not for regular payroll expense. That is excluded from a FEMA reimbursement. So the total amount that was requested was $42,995.29, and they have approved a 75% reimbursement of $32,246.47. So at this time, I would ask that the town of Weare accept this from Department of Homeland Security and then recommend it be deposited to the general fund. I'm not gonna ask for it. I know better.
Well, seeing that this is a public hearing, anybody from the public would like to make a comment about it, now's the time. You did hint you were gonna do that, didn't you?
My knees are weak. I knew where you were coming from tonight, so I thought I'd. Well, I had to make a note of what I was gonna say. I would like the selectmen to do what Tim said, but to commit that money to the general fund and use it to help, to add to the money to reduce taxes next year. That's it. And, yeah, commit tonight, well, actually I said commit tonight. I didn't say that. I said Tim shook me up.
Anyone else? It's a long public hearing. I think we're gonna have to get another room next time we do a public hearing for FEMA. Okay, any board discussion? Or a motion? Oh, go ahead, Tom.
No, I could make a motion. I move that we accept the FEMA funds in the amount of $32,246.67.
Can I just make a slight change? It's 47 cents.
It's 47 cents.
Sorry.
Okay. I amend my motion to make
Wasn't
it
seconded.
47 cents.
Yeah.
Second. Discussion?
Yeah, what made this so much different than past years? That we would be going to the government and asking them for.
We didn't go ask for it. The Hillsborough County was declared a disaster area by the federal government, by Federal Emergency Management. And if you fall within the parameters town-wise of the disaster declaration area, you're eligible to apply for the funds. The town of Weare did not go and ask for a federal disaster declaration. The governor did.
Right.
And when the governor asked for it, FEMA reviews all the areas and they make a determination on what areas were considered part of that. And the southern tier was part of it, and we are at the top edge of the southern tiers grouping. Merrimack County did not get approval for that. Towns of Dunbarton, Hopkinton, towns that are above us did not. So we were sort of like the last town geographically in the area that, on the northern border, that was eligible. So I prepared the request.
Seconded.
Jen did.
Mhm.
Well, you're gonna be surprised. I won't be supporting this, as I never do. I think we're supposed to be hardy New Englanders, and we are, and took care of the storms brilliantly, within the budget that we budgeted for that purpose. Expecting my kids and maybe grandkids to pay for this at some future date, I don't think is moral or ethical when we can do it ourselves right now. So I know this is a tiny drop in the bucket of the overall big picture of what the federal government spends, but I'm for one against accepting this money. If anybody else has anything they'd like to add before we vote, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
No. 3 yes. Opposed? No? 3-2.
Okay.
Thank you.
James, you would know?
As no. Oh, yeah, I know. Yes. Okay, was there any other department head items outside the budget? Okay, we'll move to the 2016 budget presentations, and first up is Park and Rec.
Wow.
On page, you're good.
Be short and sweet. Don't ask me too many questions. Karen Stogner for Park and Rec.
So Karen, they did get them over the weekend.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
hopefully they had a chance to look at them, to make it real short.
Do you ask me or do I just like roll off?
You can just roll into it if you want.
Okay. So, for our wages, no change. We did an excellent job this year of keeping on task with our payroll over at Chase Park. Part-time director, as much as I'd like an increase, nothing. Medicare, FICA, those are no change. They are regulated by whoever. Let me see. Telephone. We were seeking a $50 increase because as the year goes along, we find that there's really not enough in there to cover the whole year for the telephone fees. So $50 should cover the increase. Electricity, advertising, and printing, no change. Outside services, we are looking for, wait, do I have that backwards?
It's a decrease.
A $40 decrease.
What's that?
Wait, $50 decrease.
$1,500?
No.
Oh.
I'm going back to the telephone one.
Sorry.
Oh.
It's a $50 increase.
Increase, okay, yeah.
You did that
Never
right.
mind. Okay.
Yeah, you did right.
So for outside services, we're looking for a $1,500 decrease, as we would like to apply that to a different line item, which would be park repairs. We feel that, it's easier to categorize certain things into park repairs, where outside services gets kind of muddled, where we have rubbish and irrigation as outside services, but then park repairs, it's just for really itemization on our part to track as years go along where things are landing and how much we're spending out of each line item. Rubbish removal, no change. Supplies, we're looking for a
Decrease.
$150 decrease, right. Again, that's where that itemization thing comes in, where we find that, okay, supplies are better categorized in other areas. Chase Park supplies, we're looking for an increase of $600. Mainly, we order boat and car stickers every year that cost $400. And it always seems to shoot us above our allotted budget in that line item. Not to mention all the other supplies that need to get stuck in that category too. Seem to always go over. Photocopies, no change. Postage, no change. Recreation activities, no change. Let's see. Water safety, no change. Park maintenance, no change. And the senior citizen activities, no change.
So our increase was just total
$500.
Yeah.
The overall, yeah.
So Park and Rec activities, we've never, at least from our history back to 2013, haven't spent even half of what we're asking for. Is there
A reason we want
events
to-
that
Yeah, well,
that you're looking
this-
at that add up to $5,000, or is it?
Well, this past year, we kind of dabbled in newer, exciting activities like the field day we had, and we're getting new supplies for the ice rink, so hopefully, yeah, that'll land in next year. We plan to do some events with that. We just have a good group of people on our board with lots of ideas to host activities and other things, so we plan to hopefully blow through that that amount in 2016.
I think, can I add something? If you look back at 13 and 14, Karen's done a great job with keeping track of wages. She keeps an eye on it, and then if you look back, we overspent that by almost $2,400 or $2,000, that was overrun before. Consequently, then you had to look to not do some things to pick up that 2,200, but it didn't just affect the 2,200, all the Medicare and FICA that goes with it. So I think she's keeping a very watchful eye on it, and some of the activities got cut due to an overrun.
Were there activities that were literally planned and didn't happen because they didn't have the money?
In the prior director, I don't, I can just tell you that I had heard from the seniors, because if you look at 14, the seniors were told that they had no more money for the balance of that year because of the over expenditure in the hours. So the seniors have spent this year, they've done a little bit more because it's been, the budget's been watched closer.
And that's one of the things, being a parking lot, one of the things that we discussed early on was tracking items that actually, the line items are accurate. In the past, that may not have been the case. And Naomi just brought up a point of the Parks and Rec's hourly wages. That's Chase Park. Keeping that, that's a very difficult thing to do. If it's a very sunny summer, then you burn through your wage line. If you get some rainy days in there, then you can. So it's a very difficult thing to project.
Kind of like snow.
Well, this past summer was, how many rain days do we have? Maybe 5?
Yeah.
So we did an awesome job
But that was
keeping it.
that was because of scheduling we've gotten very
Reined
good
it
about
in.
schedules, and that's
Right.
again, the Park and Rec board, not including myself, they did a great job keeping the wages down there, and I think that's why this budget is going to reflect a lot more accurate spending going forward.
The increase to the park repairs, where we wanted to suck it out of the outside services, we have intentions to do some repairs and improvements to the skate park in town, as well as the Bolton Playground. There were actually a number of things that we wanted to do this year, and then we ended up with budget freeze. So we'll be looking next year to do those.
How about water safety? What is that?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. So, water safety, this year, okay, normally that handles the lifeguard registrations. The kids get reimbursed for their lifeguard expenses, the cost of their programs. And we also have swim lessons over there. Normally that would get paid out of that line because we hire an independent contractor. This past year, we actually had a lifeguard who was also a swim instructor. So those particular fees came out of the wages part of it. So we didn't, that's that overage, and they kind of, that overage could essentially be sucked out of the water safety line item. But because she was an employee, we had to account for like Medicare and FICA, so it wouldn't really be appropriate to take it out of that water safety. But we want to keep it there in the event that this particular individual does not return and we have to actually hire somebody to do the water safety. It's usually like an outside service that we would have to get on board.
And you probably don't know this, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Has that person been doing that job since 2013?
No.
I don't know, actually.
So you say no, Jim?
Maybe.
No. That,
Maddie?
no.
She's,
No, please.
she's an instructor at the Y too.
I don't believe so.
You don't think so? At least a year. Oh, yeah, I wasn't on board then.
I was
So you, so
Yeah,
why-
so I wouldn't know.
Prior to
That's why I asked.
Sorry.
You won't know, but I'm
prior to that,
asking.
there was someone that was.
I thought you meant the particular individual that we had this year. No, no, no. Gotcha.
It just, that line is seems like low-hanging fruit to me. That we could easily cut it to or reduce it to $1,000, and it still more than covers any year we've ever had
Well,
with extra.
It depends how many lifeguard, if we have 4 lifeguards and they all have re-ups the same year, then we're running into issues. I think it's a $310 expenditure.
And again, it's, go back to more accurately putting, line items where they belong going forward. May change that.
So you're saying there was money spent for water safety in another line in the past?
I think in the past there were
In the past,
things
potentially.
that, where do we have money to pull it from?
I'm quite sure in 2016, there's gonna be at least 1 or 2 re-ups for the lifeguard fees. 'Cause they didn't need to this year, and it's a every 2-year recert.
So you think probably 2 will need it next year?
Yeah, potentially.
I also think that line item goes towards,
Oh, like,
lines and buoys
yeah.
and signs that go out as well. They may not be replaced on a yearly basis, but on
yeah, there is equipment over there for water, like the big, long float thing that they use to save people.
the board.
Yeah, the board. That's not cheap either, although I'm not sure if they recently, not during my time there, but.
Did a lot of writing. Rick, do you have any questions?
Nope, just noted, that's all.
Jen?
No, I just think that we should, leave their budget. I understand what you're saying about the individual lines, but, and encourage them to spend it. This is not a large recreation budget for a town of 9,000 people. So,
true.
I don't want to, and again, I'm not saying spend for the sake of spend. I'm just saying that with the budgets that's there, I'd rather see it put to use so that more activities are added, rather than cut it and have to make decisions about what to offer and what not to.
Yeah, I mean, in reality, we're not asking for a large increase in any particular line item. We're shifting the funds from one line item to another one for better itemization on our part. And a lot of the stuff that we want to take care of for park repairs is safety issues. The skate park needs some TLC, as does Bolton Playground. There was vandalism over this past summer. That really, we need to take some stuff out and put some stuff in, and that playground equipment is not.
Do we have a fund for anything like that?
Yeah,
Because I almost wonder if that's not really an operating budget expense, but something that pull from the fund for. Because it could be different from year to year, what the needs are.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there's any money left in it.
What is it?
Chase Park.
You have Chase Park, oh, you have Chase Park repair maintenance, but she's talking about the skateboard park and Bolton.
Skateboards and Bolton.
That's Chase Park.
Right, the Chase Park and, well, that's not, oh,
Bolton, we're looking into that.
No, neither would the skate park.
It'd be like parking lot. Revolving.
we don't have Chase Park repair line anymore, right? We
Mm,
Yeah.
consolidated that last year.
right,
So any-
you did into park maintenance
yeah,
last year.
So any, again, that's for our itemization.
So it's part of the repair. Other stuff will be itemizing next.
Just for public who may be listening, the total budget is $48,297 for Parks and Rec, which divided by 9,000 people, we're spending $5.36 per person for recreational activities.
Any other questions? Finance Committee have any? Okay. Thank you, Karen.
Thanks, Karen.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Your position's open. STOG in here. No free bill?
Library.
More comment?
You don't want to stay, huh?
Keith.
I'm Paul Marsh, I'm the chair of the library trustees. We have a number of items to present to you. The first is our newest trustee alternate. Brenda Cannon. So happy to have you with us. And the things that we're presenting tonight, we have a warrant article request, our regular budget to discuss, and some capital needs. Warrant article is for the purpose of additional staff so that we can operate the children's library at the same time that the children are there. That number, those times have increased significantly. And number of students, number of non-students, either home students or school students, are increasing. We're very pleased with that, but we are not able to serve them properly because of the increase. So I will leave that to Chris Haig, who can describe all the details of these.
Okay, well, this is a work in progress, which is why you don't have it.
Oh, I was
But
like,
basically, what we are looking for, and
I was looking
when
for
we
it
do
too.
warrant articles, you will get a request for $4,520. And the reason for that is that probably the most active part of our library right now is downstairs in the children's room. But Karen Metcalf, who works down there, she wants to do school children's programs. She does preschool programs quite regularly, but to do the school children's programs, we need desk coverage because she can't be in two places at once. And we can't take staff off the floor upstairs because that's busy too. So there's that, and then an amount, which I don't have the breakout here, but I'll get it to you, for programming in the summer, because the staff that we have in the summer is stretched so thin. And when people start taking vacations, we just don't have anybody we can take off the floor to offer teen programs. So that will be forthcoming to you. We primarily now are looking at the operating budget and the capital needs that, to my way of thinking, are becoming urgent. So, did you wanna do any of that? All right. For those selectmen who don't know this quirky New Hampshire law, we have to divide our budget into two parts, and the first part is raised by taxation. That's the part that hits you in the pocketbook. The second part is the money we already have. It was gifts, bequests, non-lapsing funds from the copy machine, and that doesn't cost anybody anything because it's already in the bank. But we can't spend it next year if we don't report it and put it in the budget. So what you've got, our total request for the taxation part is $194,009.62. And the additional $9,765 that we're requesting is money we have. When I sent over some packets last Friday or Thursday, and hopefully you got them because they have a budget narrative that would save you time, but if you want to ask questions tonight, that's fine too, and we'll go do it that way. There's almost nothing new being added to this proposed budget. We just want to pass a budget this year. We've had 15 default budgets, and it hurts. And we need to pass a budget. So we raised telephone and electric because we had to, just to make a go of it next year. Building maintenance, because the building is aging and a lot of maintenance has not been done because we waited till the end of the year in case there was an emergency, and we have had a couple of emergencies and some things that I will have to have fixed this month. But if we're going to keep that building up to speed, there will be more and more things that need to be fixed. So that's the increase there. I don't think there was anything else, except the things that went up for all of us, the retirement and so forth. And we kept our materials budget the same, to the public's dismay. They want more books, but we have to take a book out every time we buy a book, so we decided to kind of slow down this year.
Do you have a mass mailing this year?
A mass mailing?
Yes.
Oh, we didn't do another survey, no, please.
I'm just looking at postage, is that?
Well, the postage, we did not raise our postage last year at all. And what we use the postage for, paying bills is one thing, and also overdue notices is the other. And we have about a 3-part overdue collection system to retrieve our property, the town property. And the more circulation we have, the more overdues we have. It's just it's correlated.
Am I looking at it correctly? I could be wrong, but in your default budget, you have $450 for that, and you spent $3,700.
That's got to be a typo.
Okay.
That has got to be a typo.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a $377.48.
Okay. One extra 7 in
I dare say, there's no way on this earth
there. Okay.
that we could do that.
That was a question, yeah.
No, I don't have time. So, the other thing that really gives me chills in the night is some of our capital expenses. We have a furnace that was put in 1991, and I know from my home furnace that was just a little bit older than that, this is when they break. And so I was preparing a spreadsheet, which I didn't give you because I'm waiting on the air conditioning estimate. He said he sent it, and I called him twice, and it's not there. We need to think about a new furnace, and I've priced it out, $7,930.75. I didn't put it in the budget because it's a capital expense. They came to fix the furnace that we have this year, and when they tried to take it apart to put the new piece in, the bolts were rusted and they had to drill. That's how our furnace is right now. If it breaks in the middle of the winter, we don't have a maintenance person. It's me standing there in the dark scratching my head. So, the other one that really gave me a scare during the Thanksgiving snowstorm is the generator, which was 2001. And the estimate was $5,400 for that. It's not so much that we love having the lights on, it's that our French drain system, which is in the children's room and the Sawyer room, is hooked up to the generator so that the pumps run when the power's off. And I was down there at 4 o'clock in the morning, and the generator was doing some sputtery thing, and I didn't have the first idea what to do. And we don't have a service contract because there's nothing in the budget for it. The generator's getting old, so between now and whenever, we need to think about that. And the air conditioning units are 1991. 2 of them have already broken and been replaced, and we've got 2 more. And I will be getting a price on that if I can track it down. He came and looked, and he told me what he wants to do. But those are capital, that's not operating budget. And I will send this over as a completed thing.
What we'll be doing is gathering information on capital projects for our government building and maintenance fund.
Right, and I understood that.
And so, actually, the library would be the last in a group of public buildings here that needs a furnace. This boiler in this room was replaced just a few years ago. We just did the town hall a few months ago, and the stone building was done fairly recently. So it's not surprising that, you know, your building would come up.
It's the
with that
age.
need.
It's, in fact, the person who wrote the estimate for me said it's gone past its age right now. So I will work with Naomi on this capital needs list and also on the warrant article when the time comes when we gather warrant articles and see what we want to do with that. Is there anything I can help you with on the operating budget, or is it pretty straightforward?
Seems pretty straightforward.
Okay. Yeah, no bells and whistles this year.
I just had a question about your early statement that we must pass a budget.
We do need a budget.
There's not much difference between the default and your operating budget request. Do you say that because of morale? Do you say it because of money?
Well,
I don't
morale and
understand.
money, there is a slight difference if you look at it. There are a lot of things that by law we couldn't change in the default that we would have liked to. The electric, I think we did. Telephone, we did. Dues and workshops, it's a small amount in the eyes of the world, but for us it's a large amount because we're still doing our mileage with about a 4-year-old figure. That and gas is going down, so the federal number may go down, but we've just tried to be so frugal over such a long time that it would be fantastic if people could see a yes on the ballot.
Am I reading this right? The difference is $25, right?
Yeah, but it makes a difference because we pay the trustees' mileage, we pay the staff mileage, and it's what we said, what she said for Parks and Rec, we take it out of one thing to put it in another if we don't have it. But we really didn't want to push the budget up too much because we have trouble getting them through the Finance Committee, to be honest with you. So it's a pretty frugal budget.
It is. It's tied to the rest of the warrant articles too.
Yeah.
else have any other questions? Finance Committee? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Practice makes perfect. There you go.
Very great.
Yeah. That's true.
I don't know.
Ready?
We're ready.
Okay. We'll begin with I have 4 budgets to present tonight.
Yeah,
We'll begin with the highway budget.
I've got too many folders. This is last week's.
Just wanted to make sure. Sorry.
If we go through the first 8 or 10 lines, they're mostly related to the salaries, insurance, hourly wages and such. The only line, the 5th or 6th line down is number 140, highway overtime. I'm asking for an increase in the overtime wage line as overtime expenses go up related to wage expenses going up. And the wages through the contract that was approved by the voters 3 years ago or 2 years ago increased the highway wages, and a percentage increase would raise that to $4,000 more. I asked for an increase last year and it wasn't approved. We are up against the line right now with our budget in terms of highway overtime, and should we have a busy November, December, everybody's shaking their head no. I think El Nino's
November's almost
coming in.
over.
Everybody's not
November's
happy with
almost
that.
over.
So, just on the precautionary side, if the wages go up, I think that the overtime line should go up accordingly. So I've asked for a $4,000 increase in the wage line. You move all the way down through the New Hampshire retirement system and you come down to the line 341, which is the telephone line, where I think I would probably begin my budget, if anybody has any other questions. The next 3 lines are 0 increases. There is a life insurance number there. It's a $74 increase for the 12 workers, 1 road agent, and a half a secretary. I don't know how we get a half a secretary, but we got.
You know.
We're gonna go down through the next few lines: seminars, oxygen cylinders, office supplies, highway equipment, and postage all stay as a 0 increase. The next line, 627, it's titled inspection machine equipment. There was an increase in the internet service from Comcast, so the line has to go up accordingly to be able to keep the internet connection. You need an internet connection to be connected to the Gordon Darby system through the Department of Motor Vehicles. So there's a $370 increase requested for the increase on the Comcast. You move down to safety medical gear. What you'll see there is a new line below it that was inserted, boot allowance, which is contractual through the union contract. So what we did was we reduced the medical safety gear by the amount that's needed for the contract. So it's a $2,080 deduction on the medical gear line, but then a new line shows up for $3,250 for 13 employees to get their boot allowance at $250 per boot. The next 4 are 0 increases. The oil and lubricant line is a large increase. We have older trucks, older hoses, and rather than replace all the hoses on all the trucks when a hydraulic line breaks or something breaks, we have to put oil back in the stuff. We ran over significantly this year on the oil line, so I'm requesting an increase due to aging fleet repairs that will cover this year's costs. Anticipating next year will be similar to this, or hopefully less. The next line down is highway signs, posts, and rails. I brought a little prop with me. I heard the Parks and Rec director say that there was vandalism down at the field, Bolton Field. Well, we have a steady diet of street sign thefts in town to the tune of over budget by $1,800. That's just to keep the street signs up in town. I even went to a system with a cable, a stainless cable, and a clamp, drilled a hole in the sign and tried to hold the sign in place, but the sign thieves have come along with hacksaws and they tear it out of the ground, throw it on the ground, and hacksaw the cable in half so they can steal the street signs. So unfortunately, vandalism and theft has been our nemesis in town here, and we've had to replace a lot of signs. And in my opinion, they are part of the 911 system. They are a safety item for, not so much for our folks, but for another town that would come into town on a mutual aid situation, whether it be fire or ambulance.
And you replace those street signs with the highway-sized ones?
We have to by law. That's all you can get. That's a federal mandate, which I know how much you like those words. It's a federal mandate, and we are required to
They don't pay
use
for
those
it.
signs. No.
Man,
Shovels and rakes, we left the same. We can go to the next page. Shop supplies is the next. Well, paint striper supplies have stayed the same. We actually used most all of our budget this year, which is has been my fault in the past. We haven't had the paint crews out as actively as I would have liked to, but this year they did a lot of painting, so we used our budget this year. Shop supplies needs to go up slightly because of the fleet repairs. We're using more materials in the shop. And once again, that is to cover expenses. Actually, if you look back to 14, it was 18,000 was expended out of a appropriation of 15,000. So kind of split the difference and hope for the best. Next three lines stay zero. The fleet and equipment repairs, I'm asking for a $10,000 increase. We are beginning to see the age in our vehicles through the electronic systems. Most of the newer vehicles have electronics on them, and we do not have the laptops and the software to diagnose these engine codes, so we have to send the vehicles out, and it costs money to send them out, and unfortunately, that's where we are. Before I talk about the next line, I'd just like to pass out this little handout to all the members of the board and any of the public who would like to see it. Sorry for the delay. We'll take your time. Everybody get one?
Yep. I gave her one. I already have it.
You have one? This is an RSA that is in statute, repair of highways by towns section. Talks about levy of highway taxes, and it states that you can calculate it in two formulas. One is not less than 1/4% of the valuation of the rateable estate on which other taxes are assessed, or not more than 50 cents per mile for the levy for highway repairs and bridges. And I, at
50 cents or dollars?
$50, excuse me, my mistake.
Okay.
$50 per mile. So I asked Beth to interpret it, and I believe Beth interpreted at the $50 per mile, which comes up to $4,500. Is that correct, Beth? Okay. I asked Beth for the calculation. So I believe that this is a line that we used to have in the old budget for asphalt hot and cold mix. It was zeroed out a long time ago for whatever reason. It has not had any money in it since I've been working for the town. So I believe by RSA, we are required to raise money in our budget or something for hot and cold mix or vehicle repair, so we put it in the hot and cold mix line. I will,
This is
I-
repairs of roads that are not making it on the road reconstruction.
this is just for anything else, Keith, it's a tax for repairing roads.
And when did we, what line were we spending from for that purpose?
Everything comes out of the road reconstruction, and there are two more requests farther down the sheet, which you're gonna find out about. So, I'm not here to, argue the merits of this, I just wanted to present it as part of the budget, let the board decide it, debate it, and we can accept it or reject it. I believe it should be accepted, that's just my opinion, because it is an RSA.
Can I ask one more question?
Please.
What would the number have been, Beth, with the other calculation? The
I came
quarter?
up with 25,000, because I asked the tax collector, and I believe it's $9 million or something to that effect, and we did 1/4 of 1% of 9 million and come up with 25,000.
Thank you.
So I figured you'd like this number better.
Yeah.
I know Frank would.
None of the above.
So, not wanting to debate this, we can move down through salt and sand, tree removal. Uniforms, we have a 5-year contract with a 5% cost increase per year in our uniform contract. The cell phone, the increment increased slightly by $240 because I have a data package with my phone. I have a smartphone now, so I have some additional expenses with the phone. And then the last two lines are new requests for roadside mowing and sweeping. Both of those lines are actual expenses annually, which have been coming out of the road reconstruction line, or warrant article, I should say. These lines were in the budget, numbered as you see, but with zeros after them. And I worked with the finance director to go through all these budgets, and I believe that these are valid requests, as they are not, as the article states, road reconstruction and paving and resurfacing, which is what the article language states when we produce an article. So I believe roadside mowing and sweeping, as well as the hot and cold mix, should be budgetary items as maintenance items, not construction items. When you take out the required increases due to the wages and different things that are contractual, this budget amounts to approximately 2.3% increase over the present budget, and these numbers are from the finance director.
Would you repeat that?
Approximately 2.3% increase for my new requests that are not contractual and not
So your net
Part of
change in the budget
contract.
is 2.3%?
No.
That's my
No.
Minus the
Minus
salary.
payroll contract.
Oh, okay,
right.
gotcha.
Payroll and contracts are not included. And if I have my information correct here from the finance director, the request for the $4,500 under the RSA is considered part of the 2.3%. Do you have any questions on the highway budget?
Not yet, not for
Okay.
me. I mean, there's a lot, I will be
Oh, yeah.
scrutinizing lines that are zero to see where we are on those, but.
Well, those are lines that we did not ask for an increase on, we just left them alone.
Right.
Obviously, you're gonna have a look at them.
Anybody have any questions right now?
Line number 23686, radio expenses. I know that the fire chief came with a proposal about combining all three major departments
Yes,
into one.
yes.
Does that account for that or no?
No, this is strictly for the maintenance of the vehicle radios inside the vehicles. We do not share any of the tower maintenance or any of that with the fire or the police, and we have never had to my
Correct.
knowledge. This is strictly for the annual service for the radio company to come to the highway department, test the radios in the fall, repair radios as are broken, repair antennas as are broken.
That's not covered under It's not covered under that I thought that whole radio.
There's a proposal to loop all of them together, I believe. So that they all be under a maintenance.
But they're
contract.
separate, I think, if I'm not mistaken, there were 3 separate quotes given.
Oh, okay.
I
I
mean,
was
you
not
could
privy to that.
divide them up, because I think Bob said that. You could divide them up if you want to put some in the fires, whatever the allotted amount is in the
Right,
fire, the
but
police.
But
and
then he followed that up with saying that at this point, since he's done a lot of the radio work, and it's in his budget already, that he was going to
Mhm.
take care of that. And I could be wrong, we can find this out, but he said that maintenance agreement would cover the DPW radios.
Yeah, he put in his
and
proposal.
police.
Yeah, he put in his proposal swelling that line by $9,500 to include the DPW and police maintenance.
Now, is that maintenance of the towers in the system, or
No,
is that
was
maintenance of the
radios
actual
itself.
radios?
It
and
That was
included
everything.
batteries, it included,
Yeah, they include everything, the testing. You just call them and they come.
Okay, well, and that's R&R Communications, that's who we use?
Correct.
Okay. Well, if
That's
that
who fire uses, anyways. I know that.
Well, if that comes full circle, then I guess that line would be deducted from the highway budget. I guess, right? Is
Yeah,
that
it would
correct?
be
I'm just, that's what I'm gathering. I asked the same question of the police chief too, so.
Do you use R&R for your radios?
Yes, we do. But we've never paid for any of the work on the towers. That's always been over on the public safety side.
Mhm.
We've only had a budget line item to pay
For the
for
trucks.
broken radios or broken microphones, or if the antenna
Antennas.
gets ripped
Pieces,
off.
yeah.
or- When we have
Lots
to
of
have radios
pieces.
swapped, was a service charge for them to come down and swap the radios from a vehicle that's being traded to a vehicle that's being purchased, or equipment that's being traded to be purchased.
so, we'll follow up on that.
Yeah. We'll just double check, because Bob did say if we needed to divide it, we could, but
I think he even mentioned antennas being ripped off.
As well as street signs being ripped off.
Yeah. Street signs, those of you who steal street signs,
Knock
know
it off.
they're not free, so.
can you electrify it?
I thought that wire was at first. Thought it was a grounding wire for a minute.
I think we'd be in a lot of trouble with the legal
Let's do it
department if we
Nobody
started
would.
electrifying
Let's do it
street signs.
We'd find out who did it, though.
I actually, just for your edification, I do inform the police when things are missing. And if someone is investigated at some point in time and the police are in someone's home and they find a stack of street signs, they have been reported. And I'm hoping that the police department could return some of those to them, should they be lucky enough to come across them. All right, shall I move on to the transfer station?
One more thing about the street signs, just now, do you ever change street signs out just because they're getting worn, with the bigger ones?
We've not been able, when I took over the job, there was a vast number of street signs that were just plain missing. And I took it upon myself to try to get all the signs in place, and I actually had a request from the fire chief because he said that he had trouble with his emergency responders from mutual aid finding roads and such in town. With a lot of GPS in the vehicles today, but still, it's nice to have a street sign. So I started on street signs, and I have not physically removed old signs to replace them with new ones as yet. They seem to disappear. If there's street signs on telephone poles, they're illegal under public service rules and phone company rules. We're not supposed to attach them. So if there's an MVA with a pole involved, and the pole is knocked down, public service is quick to take the street sign off and throw it in the scrap metal bin in the back of their truck, and it disappears because they don't want it. So you'll notice that we've actively been removing them from poles, not completely, but we're getting there.
The reason I'm asking is, do we have any stockpile of street signs that are obsolete?
We do have, we save the obsolete ones that we have found or replaced, and we keep them at the highway department. In the event of an emergency, then we put an obsolete one up as an interim, and then when we get the new one, we put the new one up.
Because I was gonna suggest we have a sale for street signs, since they're so popular, maybe we could raise some money.
No, but cash.
Wouldn't have fun.
anywhere.
I don't, I'm not interested in having a street sign, I really.
I mean, we put new ones up and they take them down. That particular sign was at the intersection of Buxton School and Old Francistown Road. When we did the reconstruction 2 years ago, we put up a new sign, a new four-way, crisscross one like this. And we get a report that it's missing. So, somebody wanted it, and took it.
Does Finance Committee have any questions on the Highway Department budget?
Just a little clarification, please. On the vacation bonus accrual, we've gone up 32,000.
Well, to begin with, Randall Dearborn retired last year with no notice and agreed to sign, legally we're supposed to pay out within that calendar year or within a certain amount of time. He retired with no notice and he agreed to take his vacation accrual in 2016. He's the lion's share of that because he had 39 years with the town, his sick time, vacation time and such.
Do they not normally take their vacation time? Are they not required to?
We have a policy in town here that you can hold over a certain amount of vacation time, but there is a limit as to how much you can hold over. You can't accrue 30 weeks of vacation time.
It used to be unlimited, but it was changed, what?
One and a half times your accrual rate.
Yeah, it
5
was
years
changed
ago.
3-4 years ago.
Yeah, something like
I don't know.
And then he had sick
To
time.
limit that.
He also qualified for sick time. He's the last of, there's a few people that are here long enough and had the time in to qualify for sick time reimbursement. And that was, to be quite honest, when the highway workers made $5 and $6 an hour, that was sort of like a retirement savings account for them, and that's what the agreement was way back when. And there's a very few people left on that old program. And it's 50% for certain people. Naomi can give you the numbers, but there was thresholds, and Randy met the threshold to be fully reimbursed for his sick time and his unused accrued time.
So they get paid for not being sick.
That was part of an old deal.
If they stay long enough.
25 years, I think, was the,
Yeah.
like any of us who work here now, you have to work here 25 years.
It's 20, I'll let you tax my brain here.
Yeah.
I think it's 20,
For the most of
and
us,
then
none of us have
25,
ever
and then
collected
30,
sick
because
time
there's
on the way.
20 is,
And how, when you say 1.5, is it 1.5 times
Your accrual. So if you accrue 2 weeks a year as part of your accrual, you're allowed to have 3 weeks on the book to carry over to the next year.
Mhm.
And you can never have any more than that at the end of each calendar year.
So if you retire,
The most
the
you're gonna
worst
pay.
case is we'll have to pay them the 3 weeks that they've accrued. They have to use them every year.
most of the time that's not a problem, because most of them use their vacation time in a year. But in circumstances that, or they use, because it accumulates every month.
That was
This
put
is
in.
a fairly high number, so I'm concerned about the accrual rates on all of this.
Well, you
Well,
shouldn't be any, this isn't.
This is a 39-year
unique
guy.
experience that,
Yeah.
circumstance that isn't likely to be
Right.
repeated.
39-year employee.
39-year employee.
Yeah, there were certain people who were just grandfathered in, so we're working under two systems, the old and the new. And the new system prevents that because we had such enormous accruals on the books.
There is
And
nobody
so-
left in the Public Works Department that qualifies under the last. Randy was the second to last, and John Otto recently was the last. He was under the old system.
So all of our employment contracts and our employee personnel policy all have the new language in them. Slight variations, but basically it tops the accruals, the cutoff.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Just got a
Move on
quick-
to the.
I just got a question.
Yes, please.
First page, line 742, fuel additives.
Yep, we budgeted an amount for fuel additives. We are starting to put them in now. The PEP diesel that we put into the big tank is something like $600 for a 5-gallon pail. And all the departments benefit from that line, highway, fire, and police, because we treat all the fuel. The police don't have diesel. We only treat the diesel fuel, not the gasoline. But we have not purchased a lot of it right now because we're at the end of the year. We will be, I did put a purchase order in for some of that, I believe, and we're going to be purchasing some to begin adding to the field now if the cold weather's arriving.
Okay.
And we probably won't use the whole line though.
All right, I was gonna say, I'm just looking, it's not even half
Right.
for year-to-date or 2014. That's
We had additives from the 2014
12.
budget that carried over into 15, and we used that, so. It's a lot of it's based on, you know, your total gallonage that runs through the system, and we calculated on an average how many gallons of diesel we're using, and that was our calculation for the appropriate amount of additives for the diesel fuel.
Okay.
And fuel is down a little bit right now, and we've had a little less usage, so maybe that line in time would be reduced.
Now, I know that when we, just to rewind, when we traded the Oshkosh for the Mac, you said everything was gonna be,
In-house.
performed in-house and from the budget. Any rough idea how much that's been?
Everything's been in-house. We use the old body. We have a plow. We bought a hydraulic pump for the front of the truck. I think it was a $645 charge for an upgraded, we needed a 2-section hydraulic pump for that. We made the hinge bar ourselves, and I paid a contractor to do some welding, a 2-hour welding job on the back of the truck. But other than some valves and some lines and hoses, we have not spent any significant funding out of the budget for that truck.
3,500 max?
Probably that, or at the most. Because we did a valve body as well, because the truck had a 2-section valve body for the hydraulic controls, and we needed a 3-section body, so we sent it down to TEST Hydraulic Repair, and they...
Added a bank on.
Well, they were gonna add a bank on, but then they made a determination that the old spools were worn, so we bought a new 3-spool section, and we just put the new 3-spool section. And we had to buy a cable to go with it.
Okay.
But for the most part, it's all stuff we had in stock.
Perfect.
And our labor.
Okay, very good.
Good, appreciate you asking. Okay, moving on to the transfer station. The very first line is a requested increase, and I'll explain that. In the 2015 budget, we appropriated $7,000 for a part-time employee at the transfer station for Saturdays to help out. I discovered that there are times when we need the 4th person up there, and there are times that we can do without them, and mostly seasonal. In wintertime, we have a little less going through the transfer station, mostly because of the fact that we don't have the camper traffic as we do in the summertime. The highway department gave an employee to the transfer station many years ago to cover the short staffing at the transfer station. That's created a 1-day missing highway employee in the summertime, mostly in the summertime, when we need our highway employees. So I'm requesting this increase for the purpose of using our present staff of per diems, which is 3 other people who have been qualified to come in once in a while, to help out on given Saturdays when we need the extra help. And I would like to return the highway department employee back to the highway department as a full-time employee at the highway department for a full 5-day week for the year. So what I'm asking to do is take the highway personnel that we keep hearing the full-time position for truck driver, transfer station attendant, that position would be eliminated. It would be strictly highway on one side of the balance sheet, transfer on the other side.
So they wouldn't have to go through that period anymore?
Well, what we would do, I think it would be easier, it's more difficult to find someone with that transfer station element added to it for the full-time employee. You know, where you have to work Saturday. A lot of people don't want to do that, unfortunately. It's just the way of the world. So I am not asking to have this changed because it's difficult to find the employee. I'm asking to have it changed because we need the highway employees when we need them in the summertime, because that's when vacations are taken, and we're short-staffed in the summertime a lot, and it's hard to get the work done in the summer when you're short-staffed. So that request is for the present per diems that have been approved for shift work down there, to fund them coming in for a portion of the Saturdays when we need the extra help. Otherwise, we would operate with a 3-man staff down there.
come more wasn't used from that line this year?
Because it wasn't approved until the March meeting. It was 3 months in arrears.
The 3 months, and this was 10/31, so 5 months, about half, I could say half the year wasn't used.
I'd have to do the math on that with the finance director to answer that question, but it was approved late, and then we had a hiring process, so we might not have, I don't know when we started our first shift there. I'd have to get that information for you. So you go through the only, I've asked for an increase in the overtime, again, line 140, the fourth dime down, the increase in the wages. So I've asked for an increase in the wages on this, and you'll see that we are overexpended in 2015 by $2,000, actually. And that is not attributable to anything other than we had an employee that had an extended time off this year, and we had to cover all those shifts with overtime. So if you go right down through to the line 342, which is transfer station internet, that's a new request. I've asked to have a computer installed at the transfer station with an internet connection so that we can talk with the NRRA, which is the Northeast Resource Recovery Association, which handles all of our recyclables, to do bill of ladings and do all the paperwork that's required to go through there, and for the transfer station manager to, or foreman, I should say at this point, foreman, to be able to converse with the NRRA on all these types of documents that need to be taken care of. So that's a new request to have internet installed at the transfer station.
How do they do it now?
They do all the paperwork, they make a phone call, they do the paperwork, they give it to me, I go back here, I do it on my computer here, and that's how we converse with them, so it's an extra step for us. The lines down to the building maintenance, line 430, I've asked for a small increase on that because the building is deteriorating, we had to have the roof repair done. The buildings need electrical repairs, they need all kinds of stuff, so I just think it's an appropriate request to ask for some extra money to fix the buildings up there. Transfer station printing, line 550. We started a newer updated sticker system, and we've been buying stickers on an annual basis. The new stickers have a number on them, and that number is tied to a license plate. And it's in a ledger in the transfer station office. We used to have just a little sticker that said Weare transfer station. Anybody could put it on any vehicle, and we didn't know whose vehicle that thing was tied to. So now we have a full accounting of who's getting a sticker, and they show their proof of residency, and they get a sticker, and that number, or that sticker number, is tied in the book to the person who was issued the sticker. The NRRA is our recycling group. Their dues went up $150 this year for the organization. And that's the same organization that handles all our paperwork, and we generate our recycling revenues through. I don't have a total number right now, but generally it's in the 50,000 plus range for commodities that we sell. And they handle all the brokerage, and they handle all the billing and all the collection, and they send us a check. They are a nonprofit. Transfer station hall trash, line 590. We have a 3-year contract that was approved by the board with Sizemore Trucking, and each year his increase per trip was $5 per trip, which is a very small percentage of increase. So it was a good deal for us. So we have to increase. We counted the number of trash hauls in a year, and it turned out to be 100 hauls approximately. 100 loads go out, so it's a $500 increase. Same with the metals. We counted them up, and 130 divided by 5 is however many hauls we had for the metals, and the same for the paper. We had, so that number I think is a little off. I don't think we had 5 loads, but that's all we could find in our records. I'm sure there's more, and I only did it on a quick count of the slips. So If we missed a little on that, we'll be all right. Vehicle fuel at the transfer station, line 635. That increased because the backhoe was always being charged to the highway department on the fuel line. So when we got our new card system, with the upgraded pumps last December, we started charging the fuel for the backhoe to the transfer station, which is where it resides 96% of the time. And that's why that number looks higher, because we had a budgeted amount and we went over it, and that's the reason why.
So was that same amount reduced from the highway line?
Probably not.
Okay.
But the fuel line in the highway is a sort of a catch-all, Keith, for all departments. And as I stated in the past, we budget, and I know you'll have a fuel discussion,
Yep.
but we budget for fuel, and I always want to budget over what I think we're going to use so that we don't get caught, because it's a hard way to try to steal fuel money out of everybody, all the other lines, if you run out of gas and diesel. The safety medical gear boot allowance is the same explanation as the highway department explanation. We reduced the safety medical gear line by the number of boots that's required for the transfer station employees per the contract. Drug testing stays the same.
That one, we have the discussion every year, and I didn't mention it in the highway one, but it's probably one that I want to talk about. We tend to over budget it, and again, it's not a big thing, but it seems like it's more than double than what we spend.
We charge to that line two things. When a new employee comes through the doors and has to be tested, we charge the testing to that line. We are also in a random testing program for the highway employees and transfer station employees. We get sometimes 3 employees a month to send for random testing. Sometimes we get 1. So if they were to send 3 every month for a calendar year, we'd run out of money. So we have to budget for the worst case scenario, but it's a random selection process through the Lakes Region General Hospital, who we have a contract with, so that's why we budget that way, to cover ourselves in the event that we have more people sent than we would allow for, or account for.
Yeah. Okay.
Move on to the transfer station uniforms. We have the same 5% increase as the highway departments, the same contract, although they're separated by department. The monitoring wells, there's no requested increase, but we're going to see an invoice that's going to knock that down dramatically this month in November. November is the test month for the monitoring wells at the transfer station. It generally runs over $2,000 for the testing, so we haven't got that bill yet. They did it about 3 weeks ago, and that is a requirement by the DES. And the last thing is the equipment maintenance. You'll see there's a huge spike in equipment maintenance this year at the transfer station. Stuff's getting older. It's breaking. The balers are breaking from occasionally. We actually did a major service on the compactor that does the trash compactor this year. We changed the oil in that. That's 275 gallons of hydraulic oil. That was a fairly expensive purchase just for the oil alone. But if you don't change the oil on some sort of a schedule, it had never been changed since I've been here. So it's been over 5 years that oil had been changed. So I made a decision to change the oil in the compactor, and that's based on Atlantic Recycling's recommendation, and they're the vendor who installed all that equipment way back when. The skid steer breaks, the backhoe breaks, the balers break, stuff breaks. So without the same explanation as the last one with the wage line items and contractual amounts which are required, this is approximately a 3.3% increase on the requested items that are new or over budget items that I'm trying to cover my budget. So it's approximately 3.3% increase on the transfer station budget.
Anybody else have any questions on transfer station? Finance committee?
Thank you.
Now the hard ones.
This is a requesting, I'll tell you about it as we get there.
Which one we doing?
Sewer department. Expenses all the way down to the mowing line, which is 590, are the same, or actuals, based on the finance department's calculations of wages and such. Sewer supplies. A huge request for an increase there of $2,750. And that is because if you look at the sewer pumping station down the road here, the trees that were planted in 1978 are so big now, they're starting to push the fence over and the roots are growing into the ground in the vicinity of the pump station, the underground electric, the lines and everything over there. Mr. Williams lives behind there. He mows the grass. He mows inside the area for us. He's a very nice gentleman. He takes care of the property for the town out of the goodwill of his heart. Unfortunately, those things are so big now that during these storms, they're breaking off and they're falling onto the lawn area, which is his, and he's been graciously cleaning them up. And I believe it's time to cut those trees down, pull the stumps out, and replant young arborvitaes to get back to where we should be, to where the root system on those is not pushing the fence over, as well as possibly damaging our hardware, which is underground there at the sewer pumping station. Now, this is a bill in arrears type of arrangement. We spend money in a given year, and then the sewer users are the one who pay for this. This is not paid for through general taxation. The school sharing the lion's share of the expense, it's something like 80% of the expense for this operation over here. So in my estimation, we should be doing this for a long-term maintenance and requirement to stop the damage that is happening and could be happening as a result of these trees. Again, equipment is a small increase in the equipment of $300 because the equipment is aging. And the repair line, I came to the board here and requested funds to replace a pump that failed. We have another pump that's the same age sitting next to it. I assume that that's either not far away or we should replace it as a maintenance item before it does fail. So I left that $3,500 in there for pump replacement. You'll notice that I did not spend the $2,000 to pump the tanks this year. For no good reason other than I just tried to balance out the budget and not create such a large expense to the users. I took 1 year off on the pumping. I've been pumping the tank every year since I started. So I elected to take 1 year off of the pumping cycle and then pump again next year.
And is that a fixed fee, or is it based on gallons they take out?
The pumping?
Yeah.
That's a fixed fee based on what it costs them on average, based on today's rates to empty the tank.
So it's not based on how much they take out?
It's a gallon, it's based on what comes out of the tank.
Oh, it is per
which
gallon?
Yeah, to empty the tank, take all the sludge out and the solids out. It was less before, and I worked with St. Ange to come up with an estimate to pump that tank, and they'll pump that tank for the $2,000.
Okay.
By putting it off a year, are we not only just putting off the expense as well, because shouldn't it be double what it normally is?
The solids in the tanks, they decay and deteriorate themselves up to some degree. I could pump it before the end of the calendar year and expend that money, because it is a user fee. It's a user-based system.
Yep.
And if not pumping the tank would have a negative effect on it, on someone else's opinion, I'd gladly call St. Ange and they'll come down and pump it next week and we'll expend the line. I was just trying to soften the blow, and I'm looking sort of for the advice of the board on that.
It goes by the total capacity of the tank, though, not by the amount of sludge in the tank.
Yeah, they give me a fixed price to pump that tank out,
Yeah,
the
so
14,000
it's
gallons.
X number of 14,000.
Yes.
So that's what you're paying for.
So it's not as cheap as, it's on the whole deal, it's less than you would if you pumped your septic tank at home because you have a small tank. They just make one trip there. They bring 2 or 3 trucks and they just go bang, 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 and take it all out. I think we should pump the tank, and I think we should charge it off to the users, because the maintenance of the system is important so that it doesn't ever fail. So, with the board's guidance, I guess I'll use the proper word, I would recommend that we get the tank pumped and send the increase on to the
So,
users.
I guess I'm looking at the equipment repairs at 7,100 and change, which is second to last line. You said there was a pump that was replaced,
Yes, this season.
which was $3,500.
Actually, it was more, it was 43, I believe. I used some of the, I have money in the account. We generally appropriate $3,500.
Correct. But
So-
but you've expended, I'm just curious as to where the other $3,500 are.
Well, we have other problems that happen down there. Floats fail, we have to call AAA pump service in for a float failure. Different things happen to the pump station just because of the environment in that wet well with hydrogen sulfide gas and rust and water and everything else. So I could produce the bills from AAA if anyone had.
No, it just seems like there's a giant increase from the
Yep.
previous couple of years, so.
Well, the giant increase was the price of the price of the pump. We managed to stay within our $3,500 budget in past years.
Yep.
But this year was the year when we had to put that $4,000 pump in, so
Okay.
that's where we went with that.
What does everybody think about having Tim have that pump this year?
I'd say yes.
I would say yes too.
Okay. I was just trying not to create such a big. All right, well then I'll get the pump thing. So if you have any other questions on that budget? I mean, the tree planting is a request, but I believe it's a necessary request. I believe that the damage to the fence in the long run is gonna cost a lot more than $2,700 to replace all that chain link fence. Plus
Yeah.
any damage that the roots may strangle or get into any of the lines or in the electrical or any of the underground stuff that's buried within the confines of the fence.
This is kind of where I struggle with some of these items like that, and same with Park and Rec and other, it's a one-time expense, basically.
Yeah, but this gets built from scratch every year, it seems, the sewer one, because it goes,
So you're gonna
Divide
remember,
it
you're
out.
gonna remember next year that we put that in there.
for what? This?
Yeah.
Well, there's notes right here, reasons for increase in
That won't be
decrease.
there the next year.
Well, you'll see the prior year's allowance in the budget, and you'll notice that it spiked this year, and certainly you'll pay attention to that and
Right.
notice that.
It's I catch 22 because it doesn't fit under a CIP type.
No, it wouldn't, it's funded differently.
Yeah, just, so if you wanna get something like that, a smaller item like that done, I guess that's the only way you do it.
And billing in arrears, budgeting for it or billing in arrears, either way, it's gonna happen. It's like the pump. We didn't budget for the pump.
Right.
We expended the funds to replace the pump, and now when the 16 bills are sent out, everyone will be assessed their proportion of based on on their number of units.
Right.
Based on units. One house being one unit, a two-family being 2 units, and the school being about 80-some units. All right, the last budget then, this is an enterprise fund, okay. The last budget is the water department budget, and it's no increase.
What's the increase on the sewer
The sewer,
Percentage.
percentage?
the percentage, it looks like about a 39% increase.
And it's mostly involved with the tree planting, right?
And the pump
pump.
And the pump.
replacement.
And you are gonna get one for spare, correct?
We have, the pump we took out, I tried to have it repaired and it was deemed unrepairable. So we do not have a spare pump right now.
We probably should have one.
Well, then I would, in 2016, the first order of business would be to get AAA to come in and give me an updated quote on a replacement pump, and then we would have 2 new pumps within about 8 months of each other, and they would last a long time without us worrying about the system down there failing.
It probably wouldn't hurt to ask them again on this second pump that we're gonna replace if that one would be deemed unrepairable.
Right.
Because that could be our spare if it is deemed repairable.
We used to have a spare, and the spare went in the hole, and because we had another pump failure prior to this, and we didn't have to buy a pump, we just swapped them out. And unfortunately, the housings, they're cast iron housings, and
They wear out.
the impellers, they're old pumps, and sometimes parts are not available, and sometimes you can't even get them fixed. And AAA has been very good to us. I have all the confidence in the world in them. They're very good people, and they treat us well, and they've taken good care of the town over the years, and I'm very happy with this. And Water Department is a town tax-funded item, so I don't know if you have any questions or anything on that, but it's an unchanged amount. It would be the same as 2015.
How many units does the water district serve,
Water District,
if that's what you classify?
the Water Department serves this building and that building back there.
Okay.
We have what we
Town
call a
hall,
non-community, non-transient system here, which means more than 25 people use the system per day on a non-residential basis, and that's just a DES classification of the town's water system. We have a standard well in the back, artesian well. The water comes into the building here. It's filtered through an arsenic removal system. That's why you see potable and non-potable faucets here in town office, excuse me. And then we have another line that goes through the parking lot and services the daycare. And they also have what they call a reverse osmosis water bubbler at their facility, which also is maintained through the town water system. So basically, it's only these two buildings.
What about the well that supplies the town hall, library, and so forth?
It's not considered a town water system for no good reason. I don't know why. Kind of slipped under the radar on that one, I'm guessing.
Probably the number of people. It's not used all the time.
Probably the daycare bumps up the number.
And then we have a non-transit, non-community water system at Chase Park. But I went through some paperwork and I got the system classification suspended because we do not have drinking water at the park. So therefore, there's been no bills for testing water this year. If you put a bubbler in there at some point, you're gonna have to begin testing water at the town park. If you leave it the way it is and the sinks are marked as do not drink, which I made brand new signs up and put them over both sinks, then since we do not have, quote, drinking water at the town park, we do not have to test the water, and the system has been inactivated at DES, which is a savings to the Parks Department on water testing bills.
Well, it brings up an interesting thing about the irrigation at Carrington Field. There was talk about it not being able to be used, there was a well that was installed back when Tom was coaching. And, yes, exactly.
How many of us were born then?
Oh, wow.
You didn't say playing.
So there was a well down there that there was talk about putting a pump into there and using that to use it as just irrigation.
Okay.
But we were told that we couldn't because the water could be, if a kid happened to be there while the sprinklers were going off, they could
Drink the water.
drink the water. But all we have to do is put on the sprinkler head, do not drink.
You'd have to put a lot of signs out because you'd have a lot of sprinklers.
Do not shower.
Yeah, it just seems, that putting a sign over the Case Park thing, you don't have to have it tested, but
Well,
if you're gonna water your lawn over at the Carrington Field,
maybe you should dig into it with DES and find out what the rules are. I don't think that qualifies for a public water system, irrigation water on the lawn.
We'll have to reinvestigate that.
Anybody have any other questions on water?
Finance Committee. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
copies. I run these off at home, and I could,
No, she makes you put envelopes in front of you each.
I like it.
You can date it.
yeah.
Yeah.
You can date the folder. She emails it for you to view, not necessarily to print.
We skipped around, but I think we're back on track.
Minutes, yep.
We're down to approval of meeting minutes,
Mhm.
November 2nd. Okay. I don't have too many markups, but look around. You have any, Tom? Page 1?
Yeah, page 1, I have just under department heads, truck driver candidate rather than drive candidate.
Same one.
And then I just have a suggestion, because the update on noise ordinance, trying to put the wording in there and change it, it came out, I think, very confusing. And I would suggest that in the first paragraph at the end, just put "it appears as follows" and just cut and paste a copy of the noise ordinance the draft that we presented to the public, because that's what we were talking about. So take all of this Roman numeral 1 through 7 out and just paste in a copy of what we came up with that night.
And so then the minutes start again where on page 2?
Resident Gary McDowell felt, because there's other stuff about it, but it isn't exactly in the,
Right.
and under Gary McDowell, isn't that Greg?
It's Greg.
Greg.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Discriminates, I inserted the word "against" people who work the third shift. I believe that's what he meant. Got a bunch of other stuff on that page if you want.
Yeah, I might as well keep going.
Okay, the
I think
word,
we'll be turning yours over this week.
where it starts is Selectmen Lucas. If you go down to the third line, see attached chart of noise level comparisons. I put "could be added" because we didn't add it.
Right.
I changed it to "could be added," not "will be added." It was debated if the chart would be confusing, and a decision was made not to include it.
Yep. Yep.
And then going down to
Oh.
the paragraph that starts with "after discussion," section 6 will add after the words "transmission," I can't read my own writing,
Alterations.
alterations, and then "of a vehicle that results in loud noise," and then cross out "omit from the vehicles emitting from exhaust system," is what we decided. That's all I have on that page.
Okay.
And then next paragraph.
You have anything?
The next paragraph there should be Greg again, not Gary.
I'll change that, Tom. Page 3.
The only thing I had was changing the word "installation" to "insulation,"
I changed it to attic installation.
attic.
Yeah.
And then, the paragraph that starts the second noise ordinance public hearing, and then the town website, and take out "will on" and put the community news, where community news will be notified. It said, it doesn't make sense, "will on" the. You understand?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's all I had on that page. Page 4, I just inserted the word by, and it says vote, where it's the first bold motion, or the motion printed in bold. I don't know if it was a bold motion or not, but
It was very bold.
after the word approved, I inserted the word by the town administrator.
Yep.
That's all I had on that page.
Anybody else have any? Okay. Entertain a motion.
Move to approve as amended.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Keith.
I did.
Kathy, here's your corrections.
Did everybody vote on that?
Yes.
Yep.
Everybody voted yes.
You forgot
Next
his
is November 9th.
I don't have anything on page 1.
I don't have my copy of November 9th.
That's all right. I wasn't here that night.
Nope.
Maybe we're not.
Are you listed?
She shouldn't have been,
No,
if she
you're
wasn't
not.
here. No,
You're not listed.
she was away.
Page 2, 1, 2, third paragraph, next to the last sentence, thank you for, and it should be your excellence in the care of animals, not our. So just insert the letter Y. Next paragraph, evidence room, first line, the evidence room is not ventilated well and odors, and I crossed out the first such, from evidence such as marijuana smells, so there was just too much such in there. And then, paragraph, that's the presentation, I just added some commas, separate out. Where it says dare, I took off the O rather than making it dairy-o.
Dario.
And then, the paragraph that starts Chief Kelly, just to make it, smoother, after training line, I put a period, crossed out the word and, that is because it's just, it's kind of run on. That's what I had there.
Okay.
Page 3, 1, 2, 3, fourth paragraph, the one-line paragraph that it was noted, line 740 was listed twice, and I just inserted on the sheet, the word on. And going about 2/3 of the way down where it starts with Chief Kelly. Chief Kelly will look into if the Granite State bid, and I just inserted 4 security cameras, includes a licensed electrician, just to clarify what the bid was for. And then I just had an added comma in the last paragraph.
On that page 3, that was not his proposed budget, that was the first one. Correct? Where it says the proposed police budget is 1.5? I thought that was 2.0 and change.
That's correct.
Yeah, that was not his initial.
I only had one of those two forms.
Okay, so you didn't get a second one then?
Okay.
We did get a second one,
Yeah, there
which
were
was
two.
2.3 million,
Okay,
not the
good.
1.5.
And I thought at one point I did hear the 2 million, but
Yeah.
I'm looking at the paperwork and I couldn't.
Tell
find
me what
that
the number?
figure.
It was,
Yeah, I don't know, yeah, I guess that's what he presented, but
yeah, he
some
chose
of
to
it has to be
disregard
a
the other one.
separate warrant article, but yeah.
The first one should have been the only one.
That should be, well, in the 1.5 maybe we do stay with
This,
that.
well, yeah, because
Because the
the
2.0 includes the additional
the 5
ones
officers,
that, and all the related costs that goes
they
on
would have
that
to go to a
warrant.
warrant, correct?
If you did so choose to put it on the warrant.
Okay.
So I think sticking with the 1.5.
All right. Okay.
Okay, all right.
I didn't have anything on page 4, anybody else? Or page 5? Page 6, under other business, second line, the board will vote to accept FEMA funds. It says it's acceptance, crossed out there. That's it.
Move to, accept the November 9th minutes as amended.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Abstained?
Okay.
And the minutes of?
16th you just got
16th,
today,
yeah, we
so you'll
got
have to
this
wait.
one, so
I haven't read them yet.
Okay.
hold them over next time.
Just to comment on it though, even though we're not gonna accept them tonight, but where it says lists of guests, first of all, I don't think it has Eldon Towns there, and he spoke several times. We wanna make sure
Yes,
we
he did.
include him.
Yes,
Oh,
he did.
right,
He probably didn't sign the paper.
Yeah, I
I have a-
found some people after the fact who didn't, and I didn't add them to the list, so
Yeah,
I was,
and, you know, maybe just, and others, because we didn't
Right,
get
yeah.
everybody who
Well,
was there.
you could though, it is up on YouTube already,
it is, okay.
so
But-
I
you
have a
could,
list of everybody that.
But not everybody who, the only ones who I know who didn't make the list were people who spoke.
Right, and those are the ones we want
Okay,
on here.
Exactly.
And then you could say and others, but
Okay.
the ones that spoke, it's important to get their name.
all right.
There was a lot of not sure of the names on some of them.
There was, what happened is my audio thing ended up going out at about 20 minutes. The recorder was full, so I didn't have any records to go back to
Yeah,
check.
so if you look on YouTube, you'll
Where do
find
you
it.
find it on YouTube? What's it under?
Just
Under Weare Channel
Weare
6.
Channel 6.
Where channel 6?
And then it'll give you a listing of,
Of dates.
Okay.
Usually stays the most current near the top.
All right.
The date system is weird, but
It's the only one that's in the town hall. Hold on.
Oh,
Well, there's
The police one is out there too.
Mhm.
And there's meet candidates too, that's on there.
Candidates night.
Yeah. I
It'll
watched
be pretty,
myself.
it'll be pretty quick to figure out which ones were.
Yep.
I would hope so.
I wanna go back to a couple things, if you're ready to move on,
Sure.
cause you're gonna do the next minutes on the next.
Yeah, I was just. Yeah.
You talked about it in your minutes, the ventilation system, we just spoke about. Jennifer, I don't know that Sean asked the question, but on I'll just ask it, and maybe it's not proper, but on Granite State's bid of 224591, does that include an electrician?
For what?
The proposal for ventilation.
At the, what?
The proposed ventilation at the town, at the safety complex.
Are there any exclusions in it? Do you have this proposal there?
I do.
There should be a list of, exclusions.
Okay, it says labor rates, handling, repairs, post-air balancing, diagnostic calls unless listed, load structural engineer.
Are we looking up the exhaust then? Is that what?
It says license, in our proposal, it says licensed electrician to wire the fan.
So no, we could get somebody?
That's included in your proposal?
it's not part of it.
It's not part of it.
Okay, so yours is not.
I could double check.
Yeah,
Who
'cause
gave it to
yeah,
you?
just a minute. I think I made a mistake on the minutes then, because I put Granite State's bid for camera.
oh, it's the
security,
proposed, evidence from ventilation.
So
Who gave it to you,
that,
Todd?
I thought,
Um,
Yeah.
the 9th, right?
yeah, where I inserted security camera should say ventilation.
The problem that we had the last time was that the one bid, from Granite State, there was a less expensive one, but it didn't include, it says electrical by others. And yours, or, I'm sorry, I don't even mean to say it that way, Granite State includes, it says the proposal includes to furnish, install a fan, furnish, install 3-speed exhaust speed adjustment, furnish, install 4-inch, hard and shall terminate with a dry vent hood, licensed electrician to wire the fan, so it's not included. I don't think. Okay. All right, so let's hold on that one for a minute, because they didn't get a quote, and I don't think they asked. She's asking the right person. With that, we'll hold on that. Do you recall Sherry Burdick coming in with insulation for the furnace? And we had one quote, some ductwork, for the furnace in the Stone Memorial Building. I did put it out, and because according to the purchasing policy, I have to have 3 quotes, or an attempt to get 3 quotes. So I have the one, and then I did spend some time with Granite State Plumbing and Heating, and then Lost Lake Plumbing and Heating, who did the work at the town hall. Lost Lake sent me back an email that said I would not be interested in this job, as it sounds like an insulation job, but thank you. And then Granite State, after spending some time as well, said they're not going to be quoting on this. This is more of an insulating contractor can take care of. So I tried. I have one. I got 2 no's. So I did try to get 3.
What's the one?
The
Yeah,
one that Sherry originally
it's the one
gave us.
Sherry originally gave us.
Is it a plumbing and heating contractor?
He's a HVAC guy, isn't he? Spacecraft. He cleaned our.
I wonder if we should be looking to get insulation contracts.
They have an
You believe it, I believe it does.
include the
Include
electrician.
the electrician,
Yeah, I thought it did by looking at it, but we needed to verify that.
yeah.
So let's finish this. So he went over and looked at it, and that's what she brought you over. At that point, I reached out to 2 other
Right, plumbing and heating contractors.
plumbing and heating, and both of them looked at it. Todd spent a lot of time over there, and they're not going to bid on it. We do have an insulator coming because we already approved the energy improvement insulation.
She was talking about having the ductwork all.
Yeah, Tom's got it right there, exactly what he was going to do.
Did Todd draw you a picture of what needed to be insulated?
He spent a lot of time with
He drew
Sherry.
me a picture, and I was like, we shouldn't even be talking about this.
Oh,
But he drew me the picture of how the dome should be, and
yeah, because I actually...
We're not just insulating ductwork, we're insulating the building itself.
You approved that as part of the public hearing for the $10,000.
I'm talking
It's like
about
the
for
roof.
this right now.
This here is to do with the furnace.
Yeah, this is,
Insulate the ductwork.
That's what I thought.
yeah, it's sealing all the duct work. It's, well, I'll give it to you here, but there is like a wet switch installed, overflow pan, some other stuff that isn't strictly insulation. Insulation.
This is why, when we do projects in town, we should hire somebody who is going to coordinate the construction end of our projects. This is stuff that should have been done during the initial installation, and we say, we'll have Chip look at it. Well, he may not be looking at it and comparing what was on the bid documents to what's installed. He may be just looking at it saying, yeah, that meets code, and off we go. You know, so we're spending another $2,000 to do something that should have been done on the initial installation. But because we want to save money always and not hire a professional, and I'm going to say architects in most cases of building construction, we're not saving anything. It's just a editorial comment on my part, but it is what it is.
Oh, no, I think we've seen.
And we've tried to put warrant articles to include architecture services for design of, let's say, the highway garage.
Yeah.
It doesn't pass because for some reason people don't see the value there. And here's a perfect real-life example of there is value there because that is something we wouldn't have to come back however many years later and pay for.
If that warrant article passes on the, I hope it does, on the highway garage, if we support it, we need a clerk of the works. We need somebody to oversee it.
Absolutely.
absolutely.
I mean, it's a big,
Yeah, absolutely.
and it's, I absolutely agree with you.
We spend more we spend less in the long run. If we have somebody that's,
We'll spend less on a clerk
yeah,
or on construction administration services of the architect than we will in either work that we paid for that didn't get done, or repairs that we have to come back later and make.
It's somebody that can be held accountable,
absolutely.
that's what it comes down to. And, you know, it's happened in, you know, in several projects. You know, we just didn't
It happens all the time. It just had to happen at work. They didn't want to pay for construction administration services and then got upset at change orders that they paid during construction. And I went back and told them, you would have paid us a fraction of what you ended up paying out in change orders
Yeah.
that we would have denied. Just some public education, I guess, of the value, there's value to it.
Now, did Todd go over with you the town hall itself?
The,
Old town hall?
briefly, yes,
Okay.
yeah. About the flu.
Yeah, chimney
Yeah.
and the air intake and
We would,
window.
oh, yes, that was all included,
Okay.
yes. Yeah. So my question is,
What to do with this?
yeah, I attempted to get 3. I have 2 that said no thank you. And 1, but they're looking to have it taken out of the government building, and I don't have a slip, but I don't know if I can, if you can make the motion, I can do the slip next time, because they'd like to get him on the schedule, if that's possible with the time of year. If that's something that you're gonna do. Because you're gonna need a capital reserve request for him.
Right. I'll
Yes.
entertain a motion if someone would like to make one.
What's the amount?
1920, what?
1925.
19.
Okay, I move that we hire Spacecraft LLC to, whatever you call this, reseal the ductwork, I'll say, for the heating system in the stone building at a cost of $1,925 to be taken from the public, or the government building and maintenance fund.
Second?
Any discussion?
Are they doing just the duct work?
It's written down exactly what he's gonna do.
The scope is written out.
Yeah.
If you want to see.
Which is exactly what I sent Todd.
Alright.
It was 1940.
1925.
1925.
So again, I'll just repeat myself while Jen's looking at it. We're spending about $2,000 on something that we could have avoided by spending $500 at the most on services from somebody who would have overseen the construction.
That's what I was wondering.
Happy?
Yep.
And I think I think what Keith's talking about is only fair, because our expectation of someone at the stone building is not to be an overseer of projects, although Cherryberry does do more research than most people do
Mhm.
on any project, but it shouldn't be up to her to
Is it general
oversee the
contractor?
project.
Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Everybody in favor?
Yes.
Okay. Throwing it around. Can we go back to the ventilation system? Ventilation system, Jennifer, Heath includes the electrician? So that bid was 2245.91. I believe the question was, last time, the proposal was to go with Granite State Plumbing and Heating for the ventilation for the stone building, safety complex evidence room. You had a price from another vendor that does not include it says electrical done by others. So we asked at that point, she was not here that night, if we would go back and see if it included or not. The electrician was included in their bid. The electrician is included in the 2245.91.
22.
2245.91.
How much is the other bid?
No electrician.
2245.91. The other bid was 1,450. And then that doesn't include the electrical, and then the last one was for $6,400.
So, the second one, wasn't he going to get
There's
us
gotta be more.
He was gonna
in
get
there
us a
than-
number for the
for the
electrical
electrical?
Yeah.
portion.
There's gotta be more in Granite State's bid than, I mean, where you get what you pay for with us, you're never gonna be sorry with Granite State. But that guy for $1,000, there's just something wrong with that, and $6,000, to me.
Yeah, but we asked for more information that
Yeah.
we don't have yet.
Okay. Okay. I got a note just from,
She wasn't involved.
from Betty Straw. Now, the Mildred Hall Advisory Committee, we don't have any, we don't appoint these or reaffirm these, right?
No.
This is just
The
informational.
Historical Society appoints it.
Yes, that is just for informational on the Mildred Hall Advisory Committee that, they held their meeting on October 23rd, and Betty Straw is a voting member, and Rad Betts is an alternate, and they both are for 5-year terms, so just to let anybody know, Rad Betts is taking an alternate, and Betty Straw is a voting member of the Mildred Hall Advisory Committee. Okay. I have just in a general question, and we don't have to talk about persons, but the police department, we've been short-staffed. We've got several members that are coming up for an anniversary date, and they haven't been able to use their vacation time, therefore they have the 1.5 times still there, and by right you use it or lose it. Is there a motion or something that can be made to allow them in these circumstances, because we're shorthanded, to carry over? Because it's done by anniversary date.
Is that a request they made?
Yeah,
We have done that. I
Right.
forgot
I don't,
which officer.
if you
it was.
would,
We have
if
done
you
that.
would, I can get you the officers, and I can have Beth look at who's close. I do know of 2 that are close. One's anniversary date is already been by November 18th.
And what does that entail, just a day off, or?
Well, what it is you're not supposed to have more than 1.5 times. If you're allowed 2 weeks vacation, you can't have more than 3 on the books. But the anniversary date has come up, and this gentleman here has more than 3 weeks, but it's due to covering shifts.
My only concern is with the town employee, I don't know, that wouldn't be an issue. Whereas
Well, we have had people that have not used it, but carried it, and then the next year taken an extra week's vacation.
And we can control the CBA, we may be setting precedent.
I agree.
Well, it's written the same way our personnel policy is, the 1.5 times.
But I believe that.
But I'm saying.
But the board has a discretion too, it says in there. We looked it up.
Yeah, the board has that discretion, is written in the
Correct.
contract.
It's in vacation time.
Vacation will be earned during the probationary
I
period.
think it's right there.
Okay.
An employee.
The employee shall be allowed to carry over 1/2, employee shall be allowed to carry over 1/2 of any vacation accrual earned in the previous year. That would give them the 1.5.
Right.
At no time may an employee have more than 1 1/2 times his or her annual accrual on the record. The Board of Selectmen may extend this timeline if special circumstances exist. The above benefits shall be determined on a prorated basis for part-time employees.
Yeah, that's just-
That's
right.
irrelevant.
So you have the opportunity, if you would like, I know of two that have just had an anniversary
Do we
date.
know how much time we're talking about?
I probably, if I looked at the pay stub, I could.
And so I guess I would be in favor of extending it to a certain date
Okay.
in time, say, use it by
April.
whatever the date is.
Yeah, I'm just right now
So that by the
being
time the next anniversary
Mhm.
date comes up, they're back on.
track.
back
They'll
on
have to,
track.
right, and that's typically what we've done here, is to, either it got overlooked for some reason, they didn't take their time, then the next time I make sure that it doesn't get carried,
What
but,
about before their next anniversary date? Because we're still in the bind with a shortage of at least 2 officers.
in a few more weeks, you're gonna have, Woody will be coming back.
But he still has to do,
You still gotta do training, right, so that's what I mean, you're still gonna be,
and even Scott Ross,
mhm.
he should be.
On his own? Pretty close. Well, this is what I can do, as long as you're in agreement that it won't be lost, I guess I'll give you the exact number and what it is and come up with an end date, if that works out. I just didn't,
We'd rather discuss it that way than
Yep.
just without the information.
okay. As long as there's an understanding that he's not gonna lose it, that was, he was panicked over.
I would really be right.
Okay,
Just, while I've got this in
Sure.
my hand here.
Sure.
Have we gotten any, draft?
no, I know what you're saying.
We could bug
I asked
them
about
on
them last week, but I didn't ask this week. Speaking of that, have you guys looked at the DPW one? I sent you this page to compare it with this.
I did receive it, I have not had a chance.
Okay,
I did go through it, if you trust my judgment on it, and it's all exactly the same. I didn't go through any of the articles that were not on this list, because I assumed they were all.
we just used the same Word document and added that. But if
But-
the rest,
but
if a couple
all-
more wanna look at
All
it,
of these
yeah.
are in there just as they appear on this sheet. So I don't know if there's a time crunch on it, but we also wanted a different cover.
I know, I don't know that you're gonna get,
Well,
I can put my own cover back on it.
Now we're down.
You're not signing it.
Actually, it's,
You're not signing it. I just put my cover back on it. You're not signing the cover, you're signing the,
Yeah.
We kinda went, we could say 50/50, wouldn't we? That was it.
no, put the cover that you had and we'll sign that.
okay. Well, I'll bring it back Monday with the right cover.
Perfect.
Okay, I just, now we'll go back to mine. If any of you noticed, the back floor treads were trimmed Thursday. You did a really nice job. Did you notice?
I did not. go
Just
over it.
if you take it, it was done very nice, very
Make a
nice and
difference?
clean. I don't know, I never bothered me the first time, so it wasn't my shoes that was borrowed. So,
No problem, I'm sure it makes a difference.
what's that?
I'm sure it makes a difference.
Oh, I'm sure it does. I'm just saying I didn't have the issue of catching,
And
so.
if you had any comments from anybody?
No, no one said one way or the other.
the front hallway looks great, the staircases
Yeah.
and everything, and it just looks really
Yep.
good.
Town hero.
That's it.
The noise ordinance, I guess we're gonna come up with a draft from some of the suggestions. I wasn't there, so,
Oh, you missed a good night.
Yeah, we had some,
okay.
some more.
I'll have to go to YouTube.
I think we need to, just put it on our agenda to
Okay.
take it out and talk about each piece.
The request for no-through trucking, I was gonna try to squeeze in when either one of them were here, but we're trying to get the budgets done, so I was gonna do it a separate night, just for discussion. And being that, with the holiday right around the corner, I thought I would give people notice and do it to the 7th. Because my game plan is next week, you're gonna see the rest of the budgets for the first time. And then we would have been through the whole spell proposed in the month of November. And at that point, I would like to just, Beth was gonna just maybe look at default like we did last year and put some numbers there, which you'll have to see as well. And then if you want to talk about second go-arounds, if you need to, with the others. But,
We have, for example, the police department, and we've had a major discussion to have concerning that request that he put forth. I think it's gonna be a time-consuming discussion about the additional officers particularly.
Warrant article.
And then the other biggie is a discussion of the per diems in the fire department, the
Right.
way that Chief Azina presented them. I envision these as taking a major block of time for us to come up with a decision on those two items.
yeah, and I can, my thought was we could talk about that, the first Monday. I'd like to have, we've put off the no-through trucking for a while, and there's been ample time to gather the information. I believe the two gentlemen have talked. I just think we need to have a general discussion about it and
Well, I
move
don't
on
wanna
it,
have
or-
just a general discussion. I'd
Right.
like to have the map that they've looked at,
okay.
the roads, and identify the ones
Yeah,
that
I'm not
are-
sure what map and how long it's been, but I know both of them were in their budget process, so I think it kind of got dropped, which is why I
Yeah.
didn't want to keep leaving it on there in that fashion.
The concern that I have with that, that we address, is that if we close one road, what other road is that traffic going to be?
Where's it go to?
Yeah, where's it gonna go to?
It's going somewhere.
So I think that that's gonna have to be a careful consideration when we look at that. What are the alternative routes? Is it gonna create the same problem in another place? It's difficult.
Well, it's very difficult when you're trying to direct traffic to another.
It's just difficult to do kinda a general discussion. It
Mhm.
literally has to be, okay, let's talk about this road, and like Tom said, with a map influence, where does that reroute it, and what are the unintended consequences of rerouting the traffic that way?
Well, I was trying to have enough discussion so that if you wanted to do something or not, I don't want to wait until if the residents wanted to have that opportunity. I don't want to be seen as holding it so that it gets bypassed if the window of opportunity for a warrant article by petition comes along. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to be viewed that way.
So the 7th is what you're thinking?
That's what I'm thinking it right now.
And are both the police chief, well, we'll just tell them that when we meet them.
But I'll make sure that they looked at the map and the consequences, and they've had that discussion amongst themselves. I give them, the budget presentation, the finance schedule is there, and the other dates I haven't changed. I did put, I believe, in front of you, town report and town mailer bids, with my explanation. It's just a single sheet, looks like this. Ricky was looking there. We got four for the town report and 5 for the mailer. There's one, that does the mailer that doesn't do the town reports. So that company just bids on the mailer. The Brayshaw bid, we've worked for Brayshaw for 2 years now, they're just right up in Warner. I've enjoyed it because it's just like right around the corner. The first low bid is from Massachusetts, and it's long distance. We used them a couple years ago, and I had to meet him in Massachusetts, so. For the total package, it is a difference of $521 total, if you add the town report and the mailer together for both companies.
And did the bid or the town report include having it come here, or are you having to go get it?
It can come here, I can get it as well, it's not that far away.
Well, you said you had to go get it in Massachusetts.
I did, because he met me halfway.
Was this number
That would,
meeting you halfway or bringing it here?
that would be a halfway mark again.
That doesn't seem like a useful
Yeah, north.
use of your time.
No, it's not. And it was a much more difficult to work through, just to be quite fair. North Brookfield, Mass.
This year,
Mhm.
the town report RFP, did it include color like we did last year or not?
I didn't include any color.
Because last year we talked about doing it because it was a 250.
That's right.
Okay.
And I dropped the quantity back down to where we always do.
Okay.
That's why that difference is, yeah, this is black and white. Occasionally, when we have someone, if you remember, the first year, not necessarily last year, but we had two, the employees leave, and then we had a in memory of.
Mm-hmm.
He'll, a lot of times throw those in color just for the picture. But I'm not anticipating on pictures like we were, or a color cover or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it was anticipated on.
Do you know last year's cost? Oh, not last year, 2 years ago? Was it the same company 2 years ago too?
Yeah, I don't know if I have. Probably don't off my fingertips.
That's okay. I
Yeah,
was just
I
curious.
don't.
This doesn't matter.
No, I was thinking I might have had something, but I don't, Keith, not for 2 years ago. I know last year was a lot more expensive because of the color and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we went to the default, we knocked it back to last year's anyway, which, just trying to think how I could get a hand quickly. I don't have it at my
That's okay, it
fingertips.
doesn't matter. I'll entertain a motion if anybody wants to make one.
I move that we award the bid for the town report to, and the town mailer to R.C. Brayshaw
Mhm.
and Company of Warner, New Hampshire, with the bid for the town mailer being $2,990.
That's
And-
town report.
Pardon me? Town report, I'm sorry, town report, $2,990, and for the town mailer, $1,449.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then I've given you the town offices closing at 4:30 on Wednesday, then we'll close Thursday and Friday for the holiday. I do have, I think this is public information. I'm working on, the town of Weare is a beneficiary. The fire department is named a beneficiary in somebody's estate that passed away. We are one, I've never dealt in such a thing, so, I'm gonna have to send it off to Laura probably too. So I don't know what that entails on our behalf. I've been asked to sign something, which I'm not going to. I'm gonna ask Laura. According to what I could read out here in my understanding, that the estate will be sold and we would get, not all of it, but we're 1/7. She's left it to 7 charities and we're one of them.
Wow.
So, I guess, is it, I mean, I don't know if I say it or just leave it alone. So this came today, I'm just working with that. I didn't realize. So I'll keep you posted along the way. I don't know what 1/7 may be. I don't really have any idea, but it was left to the fire department.
Whatever it is, it's generous.
Yeah, and I just don't, a conversation, just a quick conversation was maybe that, you know, a piece of small equipment might get purchased in her name or something, but I don't know if that's eligible. You know, I really don't know any of the implications, so, just to let you know. So, maybe an ambulance.
Hey, is that much money?
That would be nice.
Yeah.
We'll toss that idea around.
So, other than that, I do have a couple things I would just like to, go through with you, personnel-wise, in a department. One couple of things is just a follow-up.
As a non-public.
Yes, please.
Probably we're gonna ask the same thing of you, so. Hopefully our requests are coinciding.
Okay.
All set for administrative report?
Yes.
Public comment? None? Correspondence? Anybody have any correspondence? Other business?
I will, I'm non-public as well, for a few minutes, okay?
Before that, is there any other business? Other business? Okay. I will move, we go into non-public session under RSA 91A 2 A and C.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And happy birthday to my wife.
Oh.
30 years old.